Hi, I'm John Taylor with AMD coming to you on a Friday here in May.
Long weekend.
Long weekend coming up, Memorial Day weekend.
Yep.
We're here in Austin, Texas. I am with Mr. Robert Hallock, who leads technical marketing for AMD. You guys should know Robert from the many video appearances as he's helped us learn about new features, new innovations, new products. Got a little different context for the conversation today. This has been the week of the introduction of Witcher 3.
Yeah, great game.
Great game and good-looking game, and it's also a game that is featuring Nvidia Gameworks technology, with a lot of the buzz being around Hairworks, a lot of good buzz, a lot of other kinds of buzz going on, and a lot of things have been said, interestingly, in all this about AMD, about the experience for Radeon and users, about AMD's engagement with the developers of Witcher 3 or with other developers. Really been interesting how that conversation's been driven, right at us. And there's a lot in it that if you look at it and you read it, it's kind of hard to just sit back and say, okay, we're just going to let this stand. There's some things in here we want to go and address and kind of talk through. And so what I've done is printed out some of the things that have been patterns in what's been posted, what's been written, characterizations of AMD, characterizations of our investment with game developers, characterization of Gameworks, etc. So, Robert, I wanted to get a little time with you, as our expert in this area, to help us learn a little bit about separate sort of fact from conjecture and rumor and the rest. You good with that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, let's jump into it. One of the first things I'd ask you would be, there's this notion that Hairworks was seen, Hairworks being the feature that enables, realistic hair through tessellation. Hairworks was seen some time ago on stage, demoed by the Witcher 3 team.
Yeah.
And that AMD is somehow saying, oh, we were shocked and surprised to find out that there was a Hairworks feature in this game. It's the company who, did truss up facts. Obviously, we would not be shocked to see such a feature. How has that gotten twisted? What's going on that people think that we're confused about when that feature was first shown versus the world of actual game development and optimization?
I think we know a thing or two about hair
Yes.
showing up in games.
Yes.
And based on that experience, we know a couple things to be true. When you bring up an effect like Tress Effects Hair or even Hairworks, you build it into a tech demo first to show people, hey, it's viable, that it works, that it looks good.
It's going to be a great game.
Yeah,
Look
teasers,
at this effect.
yay,
Yes.
games. But those technologies don't start appearing in the game builds until many years later.
And certain builds might be about doing certain optimizations. Certain features might not be in certain builds. So you can't take stagecraft or what's demoed.
That's right.
And apply it to, well, since it was demoed in this year and in this month, that means AMD has had all that time to be working with the developer on that code. And any developer, I think, would acknowledge that.
The reality is that a lot of the time, some of the best effects that gamers have seen in games didn't actually make it into the builds that people were beta testing or testing internally until about a month before game released. It's not that it's, oh God, here's Hairworks, what a surprise. It's, it's 30 days or 45 days before the game launches. And that is the issue at hand here.
Okay, so the idea that AMD should just do its own Gameworks and some of the, in the community saying things like, AMD, why don't you just go do more to create innovation in games? You should be doing more there. Why aren't you doing more? How do you respond when you hear that? You hear that being said?
Well, aside from things like Tress Effects Hair and tiled resources and ambient occlusion and global illumination and morphological anti-aliasing and forward plus rendering, aside from all of that, I guess we could probably do more. But the point is we do a lot of these effects already, and the other big point is that all of those effects are on our website. They're publicly available. You can look at the code, and that's, I think, the way the industry should work, right? If you try to divide the industry into haves and have-nots through the software, then some of the gamers out there are having the choice made for them. Like, they don't get to pick their favorite game because they like it, but they'll have to choose their favorite game because there's a very real risk that this other game wouldn't even run well on their hardware. And that's a horrible thing for the PC gaming industry.
All right. So, in your perception, because this is also, again, one of the things that's been commented, written, what's wrong with using a capability like Gameworks to, if you invest on a particular AAA title, to then use it to reduce the experience for PC gamers who are not using the hardware for which you were, trying to get that optimization done. What's wrong with that? Why isn't that good for the industry?
Well, there's nothing wrong with optimizing the performance of a title for your hardware. That happens all the time. The issue is in, I think, how that optimization is done. You can do it in a way where there's a certain average baseline performance and your performance rises above that level, or you can do it in a way where you bring the baseline down and you bring up your level to create this artificial gap. And it doesn't have to be that way, right? You can do the optimization in a way that benefits your customers without harming millions of other people too. And that's the argument that we are making in our position here, that go ahead, go do the optimization, go make games look better and run better for your customers. But we think for the benefit of the PC industry in general, do it in the way that doesn't come as a detriment to other people while you're doing your good work.
Well, and I think we've all seen the headlines, and the PC industry as a whole has not been growing for some time. The PC gaming industry has been a particular bright spot in it. So let's not do things to disrupt for what's already not a growing industry. Let's not disrupt the healthiest part of it, because part of what has made the PC so successful and so loved by people like you and me who've devoted our careers in the PC industry. Let's not do the things that prevented the PC from getting where it is.
That's right.
So one of the things that we've also seen actually with the many Radeon, the millions of Radeon users out there, talking about things that they can do in Catalyst Control Center to change the tessellation settings.
Yes.
And getting playable frame rates, good frame rates, while the Hairworks feature is enabled. What's going on under the covers there that you can't necessarily see the benefits when you look at the fur of playing with this, but there seems to be an awful lot of tessellation going on. What's going on under the covers there?
Yeah, so I mean, at a basic level, a tessellation is you take this very simple geometry and on the fly you turn it into much more complex geometry. And how much complexity you're generating is called your tessellation factor, and it goes from 2x to 64x or higher. And Hairworks, judging by the analysis of the title, is using 64x tessellation factor. But comments from the community have pointed out that even if you scale it back to 16x, there's no change in the quality, but the performance is substantially improved. Not just on Radeon hardware, but on Nvidia's own Kepler architecture as well. So they're doing a very high degree of tessellation for what?
If you get a screen grab and you're looking at it at 16x versus 64x, it's not that visible, you're saying, between the fur on the wolf, how it looks at either setting. So why drive it consistently at 64x if it also perhaps hurts the N-1 generation of Nvidia card owners, while of course, having an impact on the many millions of Radeon card owners.
Maxwell has much more powerful tessellation than Kepler does, and of course they want to promote their newest graphics cards, but it's coming at the expense not just of Radeon, but as you say, the N-1 as well.
But if you can't see it, what's the benefit?
Oh, what is the benefit? And that's the $1 million question, right? The tessellation factors are so high that there are multiple polygons being packed into a single pixel, and it's not possible for one pixel to convey all that detail.
It's night and day with it on, just like with TressFX. But it certainly isn't night and day when you insist on it being cranked up to those maximum settings.
Well, I'm sure that 48 extra tessellation factor is making a world of difference.
Yes. Okay, Robert, another thing that I've read quite a bit, seen posted quite a bit this week, has been the notion that if only AMD were engaged and giving it a good try, this whole black box code thing wouldn't be even a topic of discussion. That we'd be able to get some of these features better optimized for AMD, like Hairworks. What's going on there? What's the real story?
Gosh, if only we just try harder. Man, world's problem solved overnight. No, I mean the reality of that situation is there are certain things that Hairwork is doing that prevents try harder from being a valid answer. Um, at times the argument has been distorted to say, well, you could AMD's asking for the source code, or we don't think that Nvidia should give the source code to AMD, and that's an attempt to distort the issue. And the other thing that gets asked is, well, why don't you just engage earlier with the developer? The problem is Gameworks is cleverly set up in such a way that we think that maybe the contracts don't specifically block optimization, but when you don't have source code, when the developer, not AMD, when the developer doesn't have source code,
That's the key.
That's the key there. When the developer does not have source code, then they can't make the game better for all the people who might play it. Right. So you have some haves and some have-nots. And that's just not the way to run the game industry.
Yes.
It's harming millions of people to make this little population over here a little bit happier. So it doesn't have to be that way.
So, for example, instead of Radeon users using Catalyst Control Center to change anti-alias settings and getting a better experience and having to go through all those manual steps, if the source code for Hairworks was available to the developer, they could do those kinds of things within the title before it ever shipped.
That's right. And there's no guaranteeing that they're going to take those steps.
Understood.
And that's fine. Maybe they want to, maybe they don't.
Right.
But at least offering the option or the opportunity is the healthy thing to do to keep the PC industry free and open as everybody loves it for, right? And that's why people like PC gaming.
So take another title that AMD very close to, done a lot of work with, tons of fans of this title, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yep.
So
great game, by the way.
Great game. Yeah. Thought of as it's just tremendous. And then though you think about some have said and written this week, hey, that was a Gameworks title, wasn't it? It seemed to run fine on AMD when AMD issued its driver for GTA 5. Why didn't we see some of the same kinds of things that we've seen with Hairworks on Witcher 3? On the GTA 5 title.
Well, this is where we descend into the mind-blowing world of co-marketing and exclusive marketing and non-exclusive marketing.
Yes.
And
it's a big business.
It is a big
way.
business.
Yeah.
The point is, there are some games that evenly treat us versus them. GTA 5 is a great example of that. There's AMD tech, there's Nvidia tech. But because it wasn't an exclusive partnership with either one of us, then there's no specific bend in the wind in either direction, right? And that says a lot. It means a lot in the optimization process when no one company has a big say in the overall performance in the game.
Let me jump in, though. AMD's had exclusive titles that it's worked with. Are you aware of anywhere when that title was issued there was some sort of a seeming mysterious artificial penalty on Geforce users?
Well, once upon a time, we created this cool little feature called TressFX Hair, which, to my recollection, runs just as well on NVIDIA hardware as it does on AMD.
Yes.
It's almost like that you can do an awesome new graphical effect and still have it make the game experience better for everybody.
That's possible to innovate and do that, right?
Wow, I know. It's a little bit mind-blowing, but it is actually possible.
So, and Tomb Raider was an exclusive AMD title?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, okay. So it can be done.
It can be done.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's Okay, Robert, another one I'm looking at here that I've seen posted quite a bit. You can turn Hairworks off.
Yep.
Why not just turn it off? Why isn't that the full answer here?
Why don't we just make all of our games where all the nice effects have to be turned off to get good playability? I'll give it credit. Hairworks looks great, right? But
as you said earlier, TressFX looks great and was able to be implemented without
exactly. That's
being
exactly the
log
point,
splitter, right?
We in the PC industry have benefited from this environment where all these beautiful effects are generally expected to run well on whatever hardware they're being played on.
Right.
And there could exist a world where that continues to be true, where the beautiful game of 2016 runs well on NVIDIA hardware or AMD hardware or Intel hardware, whomever. And I think gamers deserve a PC industry where that stays true, where they don't have to turn the best looking features in their game off just to make the game run well on their hardware. That's just the approach we're taking to actually create these effects that make game look better for everyone, like TrustFX Hair,
Right.
which runs equally well on NVIDIA hardware. And yeah, we worked on it for AMD customers, but nobody's penalized in the process. And that's
That's a great
how
point.
it should be.
Yep, that's a great point. Hi, I'm John Taylor with